Hey, beautiful mama. Welcome to the Radiant Mom Rising podcast, where we believe you were never meant to just survive. You were born to shine. I'm your host, Mary Dibble, life coach, mom of three, and your biggest cheerleader in creating a life and business you love. Each week, we dive into real conversations about mindset, motherhood, healing, and purpose, helping you break free from overwhelm, rediscover your worth, and rise into the confident, radiant woman you were meant to be. Because when moms rise, the world rises with us. So grab your coffee, take a deep breath, and let's get ready to rise together. Hello and welcome back. I'm here with Whitney today. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Oh man, it's been a week, but doing well. Excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you. Let's get started, if you will. Just introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about what you do.
All right. Well, most people call me Coach Whit. I am the head coach at Apogee Strong. So Apogee Women is my jam right now. We do have a young women's program as well. So excited to get to hang out with young women as well as the older, more seasoned
Yeah.
women. But mother of five. So we have a blended family, which always keeps us pretty busy. I have four college kiddos and one that still lives at home. So we're in the season right now that college is wrapping up and kids are starting to trickle back in, which is kind of nice.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. I mean, four in college. Yeah. And how old's the one that's at home?
He's 11.
Oh, okay, because he has a little bit of ways. You got a little
Yeah,
break.
he's the one that's keeping us young for sure.
Oh, I bet so. I bet so. Oh my goodness. So tell us a little bit about your journey and what led you even into coaching.
Right. So, I by trade was a speech and language pathologist and did that for many years, and really loved that profession, but just was getting a sense of burnout. We blended a family, so we started our marriage with four kids. And then we had our little caboose that joined everybody together. But
Mm.
we were also traveling to see kids that lived like 6 hours away. So there was a lot of travel involved in blending this family. And look, one of the hardest things I've ever done and one of the coolest things I've ever done. If you are sitting around our dinner table, you'd have no question about who's who.
Hmm.
We're just a family.
I love that.
But I could tell that I was just chasing my tail. I was on that hamster wheel and I didn't know how to get off, or I was just doing all the things that I was supposed to be doing, and not really the joy that came along with living my life. I was just surviving. And um, my husband is also a coach, and he was in a program for a while and then started coaching the program. And I'm like, man, there's nothing like this out for women. And I was like, I want to start creating something like this because I saw the journey that he was on, and I was jealous. I was like, wait, how do you have all this time to take care of yourself? And he was like, because I'm creating it. And I was like, wait, what? That's a possible, I can do this? So yeah, and I started coaching, I think it was 2017, 18. And I haven't looked back. And it was me figuring out that I had a voice that
Mhm.
somehow had gotten silent along the way. And I remember I found CrossFit of all things,
Oh.
and I fell in love with it. And it was the first thing that I was doing that was just for me. Because as a mom or as someone who, I was working for someone else at the time, everything I did was for someone else. I wasn't really doing anything just for Whitney. And I had that opinion that it was like, well, it's selfish. I have five human beings that I'm, taking care of, and I have a husband, and and all the things that were creating the burnout. And I remember going to the gym one afternoon, and my daughter, she was probably about 10 or 11, and she was like, "Oh, why do we have to go there? It's so loud. I can't get my homework done." And I was like, "Hold on." And I said, this is the one thing that I get to do for myself. And I started explaining that to her, and she was like, "You're right." She goes, "You cook dinner, but it's for everybody. It's not just for you." She's like, "You go to work to make money for our family. You clean the house and it was like eye-opening to her, and she never complained again. But I think it was more eye-opening for me to have set that boundary. And then it was just from then on, it was like, okay, what are some other things that I can do to create time for me that then benefits everyone else?
Yeah, oh my goodness. Sorry. It makes me a little emotional to hear that because that's such a, like, isn't that like as a mom, it's such a beautiful
Mhm.
thing to have that conversation with them and to, because I have had that with my daughter and she's a lot younger, but it's like getting them to understand that, mommy deserves and needs her time too. And understanding the impact that that has on them and teaching them that they'll also have that opportunity to set their own boundaries, to do things for themselves that light them up. And I think it's beautiful to hear that and to see how we've grown. And coaching, I always give it all the props, and it's one of the reasons why I became a life coach because it really completely changes the way you see life and yourself, and in ways that just I feel like everyone needs and deserves. So I think that's great. That it's funny. You're the first person who's like whose husband happened to take that first step. So I think that's awesome that he put himself out there too in that sense. That opened the doors for you. So, and of course, share a little bit too for moms who are listening right now. I mean, this is huge, and what I want to help moms with is knowing how to start setting those boundaries and finding out something for themselves. So, what would you say to someone who's struggling with that right now?
I think one of the you can start small because I think a lot of times we think it has to be this like grand gesture or all of this time because we look at it and we're like, well, I don't have time to go to the gym for an hour. I don't have time to do, I hear that quite often in
Yeah.
coaching. Well, I just don't have time. It's for me, it started as just a morning routine, an early morning routine. It was like I was getting up. At first, I was getting up in just enough time to hurry up and throw clothes on, brush my teeth, get down to, make lunches and breakfast and get everybody out the door. And then I was this frazzled mess going to work. I started like getting up a little earlier and I was like, oh, okay, what if I add journaling to this or a little meditation or, I write a little love note to my husband every day. I write, we do love and life and
Mhm.
I write a note to one of my five kids. I don't do everybody every day. Um, and I'll snap a picture of it and text, it just started with a simple morning. I call it my fire starter. It
Love
just
that.
it starts my fire because what happens all throughout the day that, we're busy and then I feel like I go to bed at night and all the power that I created through that day just kind of like melts straight into my pillow and it's like I want to recreate this again for tomorrow. And look, there's some days where it's like I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to journal. I don't want to write a love note because maybe I'm aggravated with my husband, but
Yeah.
it's just really created a foundation for me
Yeah.
so that when I am falling on some of those days where I feel overwhelmed or burned out, it's like I can go back to that and say, okay, because I've created this foundation, I have something solid. So I'm not already starting on shaky ground.
That's beautiful. And that's amazing because we don't realize it's sometimes the simple things like that that can make the most impact. And the foundation's everything. I think we always want the full house before and the decorating of everything without understanding that the foundation is the most crucial part. Because without that, anything can fall. It's not going to stay. It's not going to stick. And that's the work that I feel like so many people are afraid to really do, is starting in that. But it's the most empowering and freeing that we got available for us. And so I think that morning routines, I know a lot of people talk about that and a lot of people have their opinions on it. And I love your perspective of it, especially because I think that the way we start our days sets the intention and the tone for the rest of it. So I do love that you're also very real. Like, okay, some mornings we're gonna wake up and things are gonna be. I've had times. Okay, okay, moms, how many of you can relate to like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, your kid come running in throwing up and
right?
it's awesome. Mommy, I'm throwing up. I'm sick. And it's like that throws everything off, right? I mean, it's like, okay, that's okay. But the fact that what you said about you still created this foundation of a place to return to. That's really powerful. So I hope anyone's listening is understanding that, like, let's stop being so hard on ourselves and expecting just because we start something that it's always going to look a certain way every time. You know, life is unpredictable, but when you still create like these fundamental options for yourself that you can catch yourself, like when you're starting, for instance, I see where a lot of people start strong and then after a while they start dwindling and start talking themselves out of it. I see that, hey, I suffered with that for many, many years, so I get it. But it's like now, because of all these things that I've aligned in my life, the boundaries, the practicing. That's what I say. It's really a practice. It's a daily practice, right? Of coming back to yourself, of reconnecting with who you are, your vision of what you're, why you're working towards what you're doing, and what you're just working towards. And this is what it's all about. It's just getting started and finding what works for you and giving yourself the grace on those days when things are harder than normal, you know?
It for
Yeah.
me, it's like, okay, I keep all these promises for everyone else. I do all of these things. And when I look at like my morning routine, my fire starter, it's like, okay,
Hmm.
here's 10 promises that I can keep to Whitney today.
Ooh, I like
And for some of the women that I coach, they're like, oh my gosh, there's 10 more things I have to do. And I was like, no, I don't have to do these things. These are things
that.
I'm choosing to do that build me. So
Hmm.
when I step out of my bedroom, I can take on my day in a different, and look, some days I step out the bedroom and it's just like, oh gosh, here we go. Like you said, sick kid or, like flat tire, whatever the thing
Yes.
is that's in my way, I can face it a little different because
Yeah.
I have created that foundation. And and I've done this too, where it's like, yeah, I'll start something really strong, like you were saying, and
Yeah.
then you see the dwindle of, oh, okay, well, things are getting in the way. I will constantly remind the women that are in my life is like we make time for the things that are important to us,
Yeah.
and I was a firm believer, and I am not a morning person. I
Yeah.
told myself that for
Mm.
years and years and years. Like I said, it was just like I'd set my clothes out the night before. I was run out of bed straight into like, let's just get out the house because I want to take every ounce of sleep I can in the morning. But when I started like shifting, okay, what does my nighttime routine look like? Is that serving me to wake up and be in such a hurry in the morning? Or what if I just started training my body to wake up a little earlier and go to bed earlier? Stop all the scrolling or staying up watching TV or whatever at nighttime and
Yeah.
just getting into a better routine so that I could start my day off where I was giving myself some time before I gave all the time away to someone else. And I can no longer say that I'm not a morning person because even on the weekends, sometimes I'm like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
sleep in today. And I'm like, all the way till 6 a.m. Okay, got it.
Yes. Oh yeah, because your body gets used to that, and the next thing you know, you're just up. Me too, and especially in the summertime, like I enjoy waking up a lot earlier because I love the warmth. I like. I love my morning rituals. Like I really enjoy it. I'm the same way, and I was also the same way of like believing that like, oh, I'm not a morning person, and I used to dream of like never having to have an alarm clock to wake me up. And I do kind of have a job that's like that right now. I'm very flexible. I work from home, but at the same time, like you say, training myself to that's one of the boundaries I set for myself. I was like, I need my sleep. I love my sleep. So I make sure to go to bed at a decent time and being able to wake up now feeling so refreshed and just ready to go and do the things that I need to do and having that time to do my affirmations, to journal, to, maybe it's getting on my vibration plate or doing a little yoga or Pilates, whatever I'm able to do, but also having that time with my coffee. I love my
I
coffee.
know.
I have to have my
Same.
moment, and it was cool is there was a time that I was like, I was so exhausted that I would have to go to coffee first. But now, like, I get up and do things. I take my shower and everything. I'm like pretty much up for the day. And then I get into my coffee just because I enjoy that. It feels good because it's like I'm not having to turn to coffee because I need to wake up. I'm actually very intentional with what I do. And it really does, what you were saying too, outside of the morning stuff. It's like all of this work right here sets you up to handle things differently. And I think that's something I would love to talk about too. I see that you do identity work, and that's something I'm really passionate about. It's something I'm creating for moms because I don't feel like that's something we really understand sometimes of how powerful that is and who we are and how we're showing up. So tell us a little bit about some identity work that you have gone through yourself, something that you teach to just kind of help moms to understand the power of that work.
Well, the first thing that I hear most women do, especially if you're mothers, is, well, I am, a mother of five. Like I'm mom, right? So it's like we've almost forgotten who we are at the core. And so when I have women introduce themselves, I'm like, okay, what if you just start with some things that are not mom? It's one of the coolest things we do. I 100%, like, I'm not taking that away from any mom out there,
Okay.
but it getting them to actually go back to some of the roots of things they actually enjoy doing. Like, we're this month I'm teaching all about around creativity, and it's, I had them close their eyes and think about when they were that little girl. What were some of the things that they enjoyed doing? And it was fun to hear, some of these ladies talk about, they were making the friendship bracelets, and we were talking about, I don't know if you're old enough to remember the Chinese jump rope. It was like this elastic that we put around. It was two people that put
Uh-huh.
it around their ankles, and then you would jump back and forth. And so it was fun to just sit
Mhm.
there and reminisce about some of these things. One of the ladies was talking about playing bank. She was like, she loved, her mom would bring home these carbon copy things and she would play bank.
Ah,
Um, but
yeah.
I think doing some of that work is like, okay, I still, that little girl still lives inside of me. And why have I stopped making a friendship bracelet?
Mm.
And maybe my friendship bracelet looks a little different, with maybe it's art, or maybe it's singing, or maybe it's poetry, or something that you've gotten into as an adult. But we we have gotten, life has gotten in the way that we've stopped having fun, and we think that we don't have the time. If I'm looking around my house and I'm seeing how messy my house is right now, I should be
Mm.
washing dishes. I should not be, working on a painting, or
Yeah.
playing a game. And I think for a lot of us, we have just dove straight into our phones,
Yeah.
and that's where we think our creativity lies. So, and our identity is definitely not in here, because we're comparing ourselves to everybody on that thing.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's the root for me, is just remembering who we were before all of this started, and starting to bring some of those ideas back in our lives, whether it's 10 minutes of putting
Yeah.
a puzzle together. Because one of my she's a really good friend at this point. I coached her a long time ago. Now she's a really close friend. She's like, one of the coolest things you told me to do is just start putting she's like, I love to puzzle. And I've stopped doing that ever since I became a mom. And now she has a puzzle table set up, and she has, I guess her closet is big enough. She
Yeah.
has it set up in her closet. She's like, I'll just go up there for like 10 minutes and I'll set a timer, and I sit down and I just put my puzzle together.
Ah, that's
And it's
beautiful.
easy, it's something easy,
See.
but
Mhm.
we go, well, it's an hour. I have to take an hour, or no, it's like 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. I think the living life in flexibility has been a game changer for me. I was that person who had to have everything like we're doing this, and that. I had to be on time for everything. And it's like, oh gosh, how exhausting is that? Like I love living life now where it's like I believe in divine timing and connections. Like we'll get there when we're meant to. Like sometimes you don't realize that traffic could have saved your life, from an accident that was going to happen. It's like just seeing it so positively and just understanding even all the things that come against me, I just trust that it's going to work out in my favor. Like I cannot express how amazing it is to live life in that way compared to who I grew up in such negativity, like seeing the worst in every situation, worrying about this and that, stressing about that. You know, I can't even express how powerful and how grateful I am that that I realize that I get to choose differently. I get to be different. And like you say, the child, oh my gosh, just talking about that. I loved who I was as a kid. I mean, I was so courageous and I would easily like, go for that acting spot and I didn't care about it. I was like, I would audition for the most funniest part. I was like loved making people laugh. I did tap dancing. I mean, I love that. And we do forget that versions of ourselves that help us to reconnect with who we truly were before the world tried to tell us who we should be. And I think it's a powerful work to connect back with that inner child on two surfaces too, because I have had a lot of inner child healing that's helped me to realize a lot of where my trauma stems from and why it dictates my behaviors and my feelings in certain situations. So that's another beautiful way to help you to heal and also just build awareness around why you are the way you are, you know?
And it's I think it's breaking some of the generational things for me. Like I
Yes.
had a mom who took amazing care of us. I mean, she had dinner on the table. I mean, and it was like a fancy meal, like every night. Eating a sandwich was not a thing.
Mm-mm.
And so there, but my mom never played with us. She I don't ever recall a time of my mom like playing babies with me or playing any like a game or anything like that. So I knew like when I became a mom, I was like, I'm gonna be the mom that plays. I also take care of my kids. They do get dinner and
Of course.
they have
Yeah.
sandwiches, you know. That was a foreign thing for me too. I was like, there was this expectation of I have to cook dinner every night for my kids because it's what my mom did, right?
Love that.
And I learned, I was like, okay, hold on. My mom wasn't working a 40-hour-a-week job and
Yeah.
she was a stay-at-home mom. Therefore, she had the extra time to do some
Yeah.
of these things that I'm just choosing not to do, you know, and
Yeah.
realizing that that was a choice. But my kids still laugh because I love to play.
Yeah.
We play
That's awesome.
games. We play
Me too.
games all the time. Um,
So does.
and I love singing. So karaoke is a big thing and they're like, "Oh."
Oh,
And we carpool karaoke, so we have a microphone in the car
oh,
and
I love
so
that.
it if there is traffic at any point, there's karaoke
There
is
you go.
happening or a
There
train
you
roll.
go.
Oh, but
Love it.
but
I love it.
it's simple things
Yeah.
like that we
Mm-hmm.
just, I'm like, why not get creative and start bringing some joy back to,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this it's going to take us 30 minutes. I drive my kid to school. He's 35 minutes away from where we live and it's well worth it. And it's like, how can we make this time fun and enjoyable and not like, I
Yeah.
have to do this. Because another thing that I hear a lot of women complain about is their time. Well, I don't have time, and they wake up and they're
Yeah.
overwhelmed at their schedule. And I oftentimes remind them that if you look at your calendar, you put the things on the calendar. You put them
Mm-hmm.
and you can also choose to take them off. I can choose. I don't have to go to a baseball game. I'm
Mm-hmm.
choosing to do that. And when we start to look at, hey, I've chosen to get my kid involved in sports, and that's running me ragged. So maybe I'm just going to take one sport off the table and we're going to do something different.
Yeah.
Um, it's just we have a lot of choices, and I think sometimes we forget that,
Yeah.
you know,
That we get
that's
the choice. Yeah. That we get and like without the guilt too. It's like sometimes we feel
exactly.
that guilt and that pushes us to stretch ourselves even further because we are, I mean, people pleasing, like I know that's a thing. I mean, that's a big thing I'm still recovering from because that's all I ever knew and without even realizing it for so long. So I grew up wanting to make other people happy and feel good that I didn't realize I was losing myself in the midst of it in some situations, because not in everything, but in a lot of it, you lose yourself because you start becoming who you think everyone needs you to be rather
Right.
than who you truly are. And so being on this journey has opened my eyes to so much with that. And And it's great. It's great getting to really be like, nah, it's okay. I can say no to this and it's not the end of the world. Or hey, I can let the dishes be dirty and it's okay. The house isn't burning down. So, it is beautiful to have that. And I love that you guys do games because see, I grew up playing games. My mom was a single mom, but me, that's the one thing she did. My sister wasn't a big fan of it, probably because I was very competitive.
That was me.
Yeah, I was very good. And then of course I have a husband who is, oh my God, their family is very competitive too. So it's like, whoo, our kids are already getting that part. But I like to make it fun now. Like that's one of the things I do try to help them with. Like, hey, look, it's okay to lose. Like that, just keep going because you'll have your chance to win, and you'll never have it if you just give up because you lost. I mean, it's all part of it. I said losing is just as much part of winning. So I like to teach my kids that because we're doing Uno now.
Oh
Right now,
yeah.
that's one thing we love Uno. We love playing charades. We love, I mean, even video games. I grew up playing Mario. That's like one of my always, I love it. So it's like we have a mix, but I do enjoy game time. And right now, I love pickleball, and I really want to teach my kids to play pickleball. I want them to do that with us because it's become a family thing. Like we're playing with my husband's parents, and their older age. It helps them to have their exercise. And so I'm like, oh my God, let's make this become a family thing. I would love that. So I think it's beautiful that you create that fun because I mean, too many kids are missing out on that too. Like with the electronics the way it is in today's world, like too many kids are just stuck behind their own phones or tablets and things like that, and they're missing out on fun, on being outside and doing things. And I'm grateful that my kids like have a good balance of both. Like I still give them their time on their electronics, but we also go out and do things. And we have our breaks and we play even as simple as playing with a balloon and hitting it around the house. I just those are fun. And I love that you are that parent because some people follow that generational pattern. Well, my mom never played with me, so I don't know what it means to even play with my kids. And that I love to see the opposite of someone being like, you know what, I don't have to do that. I can do it differently. So good. That's just amazing. I'm
I
glad to hear
I
that.
guess I just didn't want to be known as the mom that kept a tidy house or a clean kitchen or, it's all of that stuff can wait. And knowing how quickly they leave the house, because I know for some women listening right now, they probably have littles and they're like, oh, just remember the days are long, but the years are short. They leave so quickly. It's like I did the slow blink and then four are already out of the house. And you
Yeah.
know, I it, it, to hear them as adults talk about like my 26-year-old daughter, she was like, Whitney, just the time that you spent with me doing these particular things. And it was like, yeah, okay, that's what I wanted to be known for. Not, I also, clean their clothes. Maybe they didn't get folded. Dinner was cooked, maybe the kitchen didn't get cleaned, but it's those things can wait. And
Yeah.
and I know that's hard for some people.
Yeah.
They want all the cleanliness and the order.
That was hard.
And I I've gotten women to see, okay, what if you just create a space that has order that you can go to?
Yeah.
That not everything has to be the way that you think it should be, and just start to let a few things go, let go of some of that control to let some of the things come into your life that you want to do that you feel like you don't have time to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, and phew, I mean, when you have little ones at home, like, oh my gosh, if you don't allow yourself to get to that point, it will drive you mad. It will
It
drive you
will.
mad. So yes, and as
100%.
someone who like I know, so at the time of this recording, my son has yet to graduate. I have one that's graduating high school. So by the time this episode probably releases, it'll be getting close to him starting college. So I don't even know, I don't even want to begin to think about like how that's going to be impact me. And I'm sure I'll share that as it gets closer. But even so, you're right. It is so easy to think that it's never going to end and it's always going to be this way. But then you blink and they are so grown. So I have a little bit of both. Like, that's why I think with me, I'm actually feel blessed because I get to soak in
Mhm.
with my other two little ones now in a way that I almost took for granted with him when I was a new mom and I didn't know what I was doing. I was young myself. So it's I like to be able to share these perspectives and these journeys and these stories because, again, it's so easy for us to take life for granted, to think, oh, there's always tomorrow. Oh, I'm ready for them to get over this potty training. I'm ready for this next. It's like we want to rush it, our lives away. My daughter, sometimes I have to be like, honey, just embrace it for what it is. Don't wish your life away. You'll be don't worry. Because I was like that too growing up. I was ready to be an adult. I was ready to be an adult, and I missed out on so much of a proper childhood. Like I feel like as a child, I had a pretty fun childhood, but I think when middle school hit, it just changed dramatically for me in a negative way. Getting introduced to drugs and alcohol at an early age, and just really having a lot of insecurities, eating disorders, all sorts of things of trying to figure out who I was now in this new weird, awkward stage of my life. And it's like I didn't have the best role model. And this is another reason why, like, I want to encourage moms to work on themselves and to find this for themselves because your kids are learning from you whether you like it or not. And so,
Oh, they're watching. They're
yes, and I mean, the way you talk to yourself, the way you treat yourself, the way you set those boundaries, and I like what you teach about leadership and the lessons for your kids. Why don't we talk a little bit about that and what you've seen, and how that impacts kids?
I go back several years and we had moved into a town that I didn't really want to be there, but we got close to our shared children, which that was our ultimate thing. And it's like I didn't want to live in this town and I got really small. And I didn't have any local friends. I didn't have a community.
Yeah.
Um, and I worked out at home. I worked from home and my kids' school was in the neighborhood and my grocery store was in the neighborhood. It was like everything just got really, really small. And I remember my daughter, she was in one of my daughters was in high school and she says, "Mom, you don't have any friends." And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And she goes, "No, I mean like real friends, like ladies you could just go to lunch with or work out with or hang out with." And I was like, "Oh gosh, you're right." And I had lived this way for a couple of years and that was impactful that she pointed that out. And it's a lot of the things that I have been doing to build me, my kids are benefiting from it. And we think that, we do have a lot of time with them, but when they see me working out, it influences them to take better care of themselves. It's my I have a collegiate athlete right now, and that all started with her getting her to come out on run, hey, come for a run with me, and it's, she will say the reason I'm running is because you started this, and but they watch us, and it's important. If I am so drained and I'm negative and I'm victimy, that's the kind of kid I'm going to raise.
Mm.
And look, and I've been through seasons of that. I am not a perfect person. I am human.
Of
So
course.
I catch myself sometimes where it's like I'm talking, my 11-year-old son is like, "Mom, what is wrong with you?" And I was like, "Okay, hold on. Let me rewind."
Yes.
I sometimes explain, "Hey, look, I'm just having a rough day and I realize my tone, and that's not
Mhm.
okay for me to be snippy with you because I'm having a rough day."
Yeah.
And it's a lot of we have a lot of communication in our household. We're very direct.
Mhm.
Um,
I love that.
and we just had, my kids had some friends over. They just got out of college, and
Yeah.
one of the friends is like, "Man, we don't talk like this in our house,"
Ah,
and they're 21-year-olds,
yeah.
and being able to just show my kids that, hey, we can have hard conversations. You're
Hmm.
not going to like it. I don't like having the hard conversations
Yeah.
sometimes. And I'm just creating humans that are able to, I've launched them out into the world and they're ready.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that ultimately, as a mom, like, I get that we want them to be small and babies forever to a
Hmm.
point, but we have to remember they are going to be adults, and everything that we teach them now will impact how they show up for that too. And so I do believe in, like, them being taught life skills, cleaning after themselves, doing laundry, doing things that are going to help prepare them to take care of it when their time comes. And also helps you too, not have it so much on you as well. But it's like a win-win. And just having these conversations are so powerful for them. So if that's something that anyone is struggling with, come reach out to Coach Whit or myself and let us help you to be able to open up that opportunity to start having these conversations, because there's nothing more powerful that sticks to a child than these talks, whether you realize it or not. They take it in and they love it. They love having these talks. And like I said, I know that sometimes we've had, even with our oldest one right now, sometimes we have some awkward, what may feel like awkward conversations at first. Now we've become like, no problem. Like I was very open with my son about my drug addiction in the past because I wanted him to understand consequences. And I was like, my goal is not to share this to scare you, but to get you to understand the realness of like what that decision could take you if you did. You sometimes you think you're just, oh, I'm trying to be cool and, oh, I'm just going to take this one little puff or take this one little drink, it's not a big deal. And I was like, it can be. And I just want to share a little bit about my journey as a young teen, being introduced, being desperate to get fit in, and how that led me down a dark path because I didn't understand. I No one had that conversation with me of what drugs really was and what it does. And I do believe in that. And just like you say, having the conversations around friendships and relationships and, possibility. Oh, I want my kids. That's the one thing I really want. I want my kids to always believe that anything is possible for themselves and to believe and to chase after that.
Having the hard conversation, if you can tell, you know, if I rewind just a second,
Hmm.
I hear so many people like talk negatively about those teenage years.
Hmm.
I loved my kids as teenagers.
Oh,
It actually was a lot easier than being toddlers, I think. Um, but it being able to sit down and tell them, hey, here's how I messed it up, you're gonna get like they're gonna respect you so much more with you instead of, oh well, I remember having conversations with my parents. So I'm like, really, you're gonna tell me how wrong this is? I know you were doing this, like, and
yes.
then you don't respect it. And it's like, I think I was like, okay, how would I wished my mom would have sat down and had this conversation with me.
Yeah.
That's how I talk to my kids. And what's fun is when, they are out, like my athlete, she's on her coach is like, oh my gosh, I was like, I want to be your mom when I grow up. And she's a mom, right? and
Yeah.
and she's like, but she's watching my daughter respond to things and handle things that is just, not, I guess, typical
Yeah.
of the way you would handle something. And she goes, she's like, I want your mom to be my friend. And I'm like, but
That
it's
impact.
just, it's the willingness to show up when it's uncomfortable and have those
Hmm.
uncomfortable conversations and say, here's how I messed it up when I was this age and
Yeah.
when I was going into dating and doing all the different things. And I want you to learn from this. I want you to hear that I wasn't perfect, and it's important,
Yeah.
for sure, to just to be willing to talk to them on their level. And it changes. The way I
Hmm.
talk to my 11-year-old is different from the way I'm talking to my 21-year-old, but
Of course.
he's also grown up maybe a little quicker, because he has four adult siblings. So
Yes, yes, exactly. But that's like you say, it's like kind of knowing the area. Because, like, of course, I still have talks with my toddlers in some ways, but I'm not going to talk
yeah.
exactly in the way I would talk to my 18-year-old. So it's like it is navigating that. But I think it's beautiful because, like, even earlier, like you're showing them how human you are when you shared about how you would tell your son, like, mommy shouldn't have snipped at you just because I'm going through a bad time. But you also were honest, like you helped him understand, like I'm feeling these things, and I have a coach friend who shared about how like her kids will be like, mommy, or if she's crying or something, it's like we kind of, I know there was a time that I felt shame, like I didn't want my kids to see me cry, but now I'm like, no, man, they need to see that it's okay to feel your feelings. And I've been working on that, and it's been a game changer, feeling my feelings and even allowing them to feel their feelings. Like they're just now figuring this stuff out. They don't even understand what they're feeling. So, I need to also kind of have that mindset of coming into that just because something doesn't seem like a big deal to me doesn't mean that it's not huge for them. And just working to
find the right way, like you say, for me, anyways, of how I want to parent, how I want to show up for them, how I want to just be somebody there, even if it's just sitting with them and letting them just, kind of have their thing. And then when they're ready, talking about it.
And they're smart enough to know
Mhm.
when something's going on. If you're
Oh,
not
yeah.
talking about it, they can
Oh,
still sense
yeah.
that something's going on.
Totally.
And our kids will like they cringe at this as of my adult kids. But if my husband and I would get in a disagreement and they were in the room, they had to stay in the room until the disagreement was over so that they could see us come back together.
Hmm.
Because we saw in the beginning, it's like we'd have a fight and they'd like slink off, like um, and then we'd make up, but then they were, oh wait, mom and dad had a fight. And because we've already had divorces, that four of them came from divorce, that was
Yes.
traumatic, that they're like, oh gosh, this is going to happen again. And so it was like, oh man, okay, hold on, we came back together. So we would call a family meeting and say, y'all, you saw mom and dad arguing in the car. I just want you to know, hey, look, this is the general topic. They don't need to know all the juicy details.
Yeah.
This was the general topic, like maybe it was financial, whatever the thing was.
Yeah.
And I want you to know that we came back together on this. I mean, if you are never fighting with your boyfriend or your husband one day, something is wrong in your marriage.
Yeah, there's no
So,
passion. There's no passion. I'll tell you that right now because
yeah.
that's one thing you're right. I'm so glad you said that because that is something me and my husband like we're navigating in our marriage. For me, this is the longest relationship, first marriage for me. Same with him, and having children and evolving and growing. And I do love that our kids get to see us like have those moments of like being heated, but then also we're laughing and best friends again, and like we find our way to work through it. We apologize. Like that's one thing I love about my husband. He's not afraid to apologize and own his stuff, and that helps a lot. We are really big communicators, and I'm so grateful to that because I know there's not a lot of men who do that in the world, and I hope to encourage, man. I told my husband I need him on here to share and give male perspectives too because he's so empowering in the way he is willing to talk and to communicate, and even sometimes he's the person who helps to make things better for me even because I used to be that person who would shut down, and so he's helped me pull me out of that in a way that's like, okay, we're gonna find our way to work through our feel, and part of the coaching that we go through as a couple is like learning to sit with each other's feelings and stop putting like, well, I feel this way because it's like, no, I'm just feeling this
I'm
way.
just
Can we
feeling
like
this.
sit with that with each other? And that's very powerful of an exercise. I will say it can be a little uncomfortable at first, but it's also quite revealing. And it allows us to also kind of in a way healthy, like in a healthy way, de-escalate and really like kind of work through it, process it, and then just have a conversation around like what's going on and what can we do to help each other feel better. And move forward from it. Because it is, I don't care who you are. I mean, even your kids get on your nerves. Everyone, like if you live with somebody, they're gonna at some points drive you up the wall, and you too, you're gonna drive them up the wall because again, we are human, and this is what we're doing is just working to show up as our best versions of ourselves on a regular basis while also understanding that nothing's perfect. That doesn't exist. And we just are finding our ways of being real and in a healthy way that helps us to create the lives that we dream of and that we deserve and that helps raise beautiful strong-minded children. I want my kids to be so grounded in their confidence in who they are that they don't get sucked into the world trying to tell them who they should be. I do not want that. I want my kids to not be a sheep. I want them to think for themselves, to love themselves, to find their way. And I know that the best way to do that is not just having these conversations but by being an example.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it's amazing what you do.
You are the example, and,
Yeah,
and they're watching what you do, and it's okay to mess up. I 100%. They're not born with manuals. And they're all different.
I know. Oh
Uh,
my gosh. Same.
they're all they're all different, and don't be afraid. I will often say you're gonna mess them up in some way. You're going to mess them up.
Yeah.
Also, you can be one of the best influences in their life, and it's fun. It's so fun to watch them just spread their wings and be their own person. And it's fun to sit around a dinner table with them and to be curious. We sit down every night at dinner and, hey, what's the best part of your day? What's the worst part of your day? And what did you learn? And it really just opens up a level of communication at the dinner table that's not just, "How was your day?" "Fine."
Right.
It really is just a conversation
Yeah.
starter, and it's fun to see where everybody is, and
Yeah.
when I can say something I learned today, I like, sometimes my 11-year-old is, like, leaning in, and
Mhm.
he's like, "Man, that's kinda cool, mom," and I'm like, there's no way that he could even possibly be interested in this, but he's paying attention. And
Oh,
I'm teaching him that so that when he's having a conversation with other people, that
yeah.
he's listening and
Yeah.
not just trying to hurry up and think about what he wants to say, you know?
Oh, yes. Oh my God, that's a big thing right there. That's beautiful. And I think, like I said, it sounds like you're raising amazing kids. So, yes, kudos to you. And I love the journey that you and your husband are on. It's so real and it's also so beautiful. It's so much better than what it could be as far as what you see in today's world, where people are just so reactive. They're just so stuck on that hamster wheel. They're so stuck in that the limitations of what they're allowed to believe is possible for themselves. So I'm just, I enjoy hearing these stories and sharing this with moms because again, that's what I want. I want us all to just truly live fulfilling lives and allow that to look like whatever it's going to look like for you. Like, don't worry about how this person's doing it. Like, find it for yourself. That is ultimately what I just feel like all of us really should be striving for. And tell us if someone is listening and they're like, ooh, I want to learn more, I want to work with this woman, what does that look like? And where is the best place for them to find you?
You can look up Apogee Women, and you can find me there. I am not on social media. I'm there kind of,
Yeah.
but it's Coach Whit on Instagram and Facebook. And like I said, I don't ever post anywhere. I'm just like I hide under a rock and I do my thing. I do my thing under a rock, which I know it is not beneficial to me sometimes, but yeah, so look for me there. And I love having conversations with women.
Yeah.
And you have a choice to choose yourself, and that's my motto, and it's not selfish.
No, it's definitely not. I love that. And honestly, Coach Whit, like, look at you. You're here on a podcast. I mean, you're doing it. You're getting yourself a little bit out of that. So keep it going because people need to hear what you have to say. You are an example and you have a lot to offer the world. So don't be afraid to shine that light out there and let people know who you are and what you have to offer because some people really need that. And you have such an experience from where you've come from on your journey. And I just want to encourage you to let yourself be seen for that because you deserve that and someone out there needs what you have to offer. I also do like to open the floor. Is there any final piece of advice that you would like to leave with listeners today? I know we've gone over so many amazing things, but
I think the final thing I'd like to say is it's not too late to start. It's not too late to remember who you were before life started. There is an exit from the hamster wheel. It's just a choice, and you can start really small.
ah, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you again so much for everything you shared and for doing what you do to help others. It's truly a beautiful, beautiful gift.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe below, follow along, and always leave a comment. Tell me what was your favorite takeaway. What are some things that are coming up for you through these conversations? I really love to hear from my listeners and know that I'm always here for you. If anyone listening is ready to take action and really follow through and implement the goals that you set out for, as well as work on that mindset and really step into your full potential and the CEO of your life, then I invite you, schedule your free 1 hour limitless mom strategy call with me while they're available. And let's explore where you are, where you want to be, and how we can bridge that gap together. I can't thank you all enough for tuning in each week. Always remember, until next time, keep rising, keep shining, and keep believing in everything that is available for you, mama. You are worthy, you deserve it, and I'm so grateful to be walking this journey alongside you. Much love.